Hello, everybody. It is Paul. I am reporting live from my sofa again, and it's my sofa this time. As you can already see from the description or the title, I am going to be looking over, or talking about, I should say, the body cam footage from the Chris Watts case. Um, and I wanted to go over this footage because I haven't actually done anything yet that's specifically related to him besides the obvious talking about it. But this video, pardon me, um, I think it shocked all of us because it was, to me, it was the floodgate of this whole case. This is where you could completely tell something's not right here. This is going downhill south or down south fast. It's pretty obvious that everyone's realizing that he had something to do with this, and this was part of the fascination that arose, I believe, too, because I mean, just his behavior and it was so nonchalant, bizarre, so many things. And we kind of see the cast of characters that evolved around Shanon's life and that would, come to surface. So for those of you who maybe you haven't seen the video, I don't know, if you're following this case, you can watch it 100 times. Anyways, so we all know by now, though, at this point, this video, it's hours after he has killed his entire family, disposed of their body at his work site. He is coming back to his house because Nicole, Shanon's friend, is there. She is worried sick about her friend Shannon. And Shanann. I'm sorry. Thank you everybody for telling me the how to pronounce her name, and here I am doing it wrong, so I'm sorry, Shanann. He's coming home at the assistance of Nicole and the police to basically be like, come check on your wife, like something's wrong. I believe they say it takes him like 45 minutes to get there. And then when he gets there, it is a cringe fest. So I made some notes on it. I'm going to be looking at my computer off and on a little bit, just so I can see what's going on. And let's jump into it. So again, what we see the first few minutes of this video is, the police officer greeting Nicole, getting the lowdown on, like, look, what exactly is going on here. She's explaining. So, Shanann was pregnant, had diabetes, big reasons to be concerned about, what's going on. Now, Nicole just dropped Shanann off just hours earlier, that night when she got back from Arizona or whatever. And so then she knew she had this appointment. So things just aren't adding up. And I think all of us, when we watch this, our heart goes out to obviously Shanann, everyone involved in this, and Nicole, because it's just in this day and age where things are so impersonal and everybody's rushed around. It's amazing to see a friend who is so in tune to another friend, another human being, that they know something's not right and they're going with that gut feeling. And they're going, because I mean that's kind of brave, because I mean she's essentially saying like something's not right, and even going above and beyond what the husband is saying. And so I just think that everybody needs a Nicole in their life. So shout out to Nicole. So she's talking to the police officer, going over things. That's when he's realizing, okay, well, the owner of the house is on the way home, and Nicole's worry, as it should, escalates as the video goes on. Starting with, her car's here, her shoes that she wears everywhere here. All these things are very odd. And another thing that's going on here, too, is the fact that she just dropped her off at 2 o'clock. So Chris hasn't gotten into the picture yet to sit here and throw out all these, like, lies and stuff. Now, he did talk to her on the phone or texted or whatever. And I think that was also adding up to being like, look, this isn't making sense. So this whole play date thing, which, I mean, very quickly that can just be figured out. And we'll get to Chris's idiotic behavior in this in a minute. So she's getting escalated with her emotions. The police officer's playing cool at first. The police officer did a really good job in this. I mean, he didn't get anyone all riled up, and even once it started becoming apparent that, something's up with Chris, I mean, he just played it cool to not get everyone freaked out. Excuse me. So, so Nicole's, with the medical concerns, I'm just kind of going over my notes here. So let's just fast forward to when Chris finally does arrive. So again, it's 45 minutes or so before he gets there. He pulls up. He goes around to his passenger seat. Now, I'm guessing, Like, I think we can all remember at some point in our lives where we've done something, especially when we were kids, that we're like, oh gosh, I'm going to get, mom and dad are going to catch me or whatever. I mean, he had to be dying as to the fact that he just finished disposing of their bodies. He is going back home, and I'm sure he wanted to kill Nicole. And he's going back home to greet a police officer. I mean, it's literally the exact thing that he did not want to have happen in this moment and scenario. So he gets there, opening the door, and and let's talk about his behavior a little bit here. So I've watched some of their social media stuff, and to me, Chris comes off, he kind of has, I call a wooden personality, just very reserved, very quiet, and that's the only way I know how to say it. It's just kind of a wooden, a very, and fake could be a word for it, but just very stiff personality. So to me, when he gets there, I'm seeing that, and I'm just like, to me, like, even if he hadn't done anything, it doesn't look good for him, because he just comes off as odd. And so, watching this whole scenario take place, I think it's interesting to watch Nicole and Chris's interactions in the parts where we can see her. Because again, what we all know now watching this is Chris is completely guilty. Nicole is completely not. And we're seeing two authentic behaviors. Authenticity coming from Nicole, who is concerned about her friend, and realizing the slow realization that, okay, we're going from something medical, something, like that, to something's really wrong here. That realization to Chris's authenticity, and he is totally guilty. He is totally guilty in trying to play it off. So maybe not authenticity, but authenticity and fakeness and guilt. So, we then see, so he goes in the house, and we all know he stays in the house for like a minute or so, probably doing a quick run through, comes to the door, and so then, and I'm not going to do like a play-by-play thing here, I'm just going to talk about the key points. Again, we all know this case is over with, so I'm not trying to solve anything here, I'm just talking about my feelings and my reactions to what I saw. Like I've said in other videos, I think that the why is very interesting in some of these things, and then I do think that Chris, I think a lot of the characters in this case, but Chris especially this video, because it's so haunting. I can't get past, his behavior is just very interesting to me. I can't get past the fact that he's walking through his house with Nicole, the other guy, Nicole's husband, whatever his name was, I don't remember right now, the police officer, the little girl, and I'm like, he has to have visions of what he just did in his mind. Seeing this, and he's trying to act so cool, it baffles me. So anyways, so let's get to when they're all upstairs. First of all, Chris's whole way that he tries to play this off, or to alleviate himself from having to really deal with it, is he's glued to that phone. And it's to such a degree that I'm just sitting here and I'm like, okay, now, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, well, he should act this way in a moment of crisis. We don't know how people are going to act, and I mean, we really don't. Everyone does different things, I mean, whatever. But we can all kind of sit here and say, well, I might do this or that. Obviously, he would be on his phone trying to get a hold of people, but he does it to such a degree that it's almost like he's just ignoring what's going on around him, and I think he is. I think that's all he knows how to deal with it. And I also find it interesting how long they're just stuck upstairs. They're just up there. And this is where upstairs you start to see the other people. Nicole's giving the cop some looks and stuff like that. And she's starting to realize, or being like, something's not right here. Now, also I forgot to mention, earlier in the video when she's talking to the police officer outside, and she says, I don't remember if she says allegedly or supposedly, but when they were talking about they were getting a divorce. And so Chris mentions this upstairs. And so that's another red flag. Nicole had to have so many red flags going off because she's her best friend. I'm sure she knew that there were some issues going on, but she's probably sitting here thinking, she didn't tell me anything about, getting a divorce or separating. So all these little things like that, which does make things look even worse because it's like your family's missing and you're talking about getting separated. It never goes well. So when he goes and brings Nicole's phone out, that's when a huge pivoting point for Nicole. And I mean, that one part where she kind of takes her hand away from the phone when he sets it down and it's turned off. And that's when, I mean, that is bizarre because most of us don't leave our phones. I mean, we carry it with us wherever we go. Okay, so one of the pinnacle points for me, when Chris walks out of the bedroom with the ring on his finger and is pointing it out like it's gonna solve the case, like, oh, never mind, she left you, we'll all go home now. And he just has that wooden look. I'm just sitting here and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, are you serious, dude? I mean, it just baffles me. So that part, I was like, I'm done with this. And I'm sure at this point that the cop was just like, you're joking. And then Chris does, again, I don't know the man, but just looking at the little bit I've seen him, I'm like, yeah, you can see where he's getting more turned up and more turned up. I don't know if he thought that they would just leave eventually. I don't know what he was thinking. But you can tell his behavior gets a little more antsy as that. So that, for me, right there, I was just like, yeah, this is getting bad. So they finally start to go back downstairs. And I don't know if at this point they're trying to get the neighbor involved, because that did happen earlier, where the neighbor's talking to him. Clearly the neighbor goes in, puts two and two together. He's like, hey, I've got this video cam footage. And that's one thing with criminals and crime, like, and that kind of thing this day and age. I'm just like, basically everything is being recorded. You know this. So with Chris doing what he did, and I mean, thank God it worked out that way so that it was recorded. But I'm just like, really? I mean, you went through the trouble of backing your car, but you never do. Why not just take it in the house? I mean, his level of stupidity for trying to pull off what he was trying to pull off is astounding. Like, literally the last person that needs to commit a crime. The neighbor starts reviewing the stuff, and so let's just fast forward to once everybody's over at the neighbor's house. Okay, that was the most awkward cringe fest I have ever seen in my life, because Chris had to have truly been, if he wasn't dying before, he's dead 6 feet under at this point, because he's watching this video. He can't even look at the screen. And so he's sitting there. I mean, he knows exactly what he's doing. I mean, you're watching yourself dispose of your family with a police officer and your neighbor. And so basically, and then Chris rambles this weird stuff off, constantly looking at his phone and da-da-da-da-da. And it's just becoming more and more apparent where it's like, something's very wrong here. And so then, let's skip ahead to, they look at this and he even thanks the neighbor and all that. And I mean, basically at one point, I think the neighbor said or something like, yeah, nobody's left your house except for you. And I don't know if in Chris's mind, which it should have been, he should have been like, yeah, I'm done at this point. So that starts to end, and the police officer's like, oh no, go back. And again, Chris goes back over, whatever. And that's when this whole conversation takes place. And I mean, the door hadn't even closed, and the neighbor's basically like, he's acting really weird, he's all nervous. He never talks, he's talking, he acts like he's covering something up, and all these things like that. And obviously he was. I mean, they're very, these people were very intuitive. And so we kind of end with that, and basically all of these people come to this realization. And so, there's my quick little synopsis of the video. So, some other little things that I want to bring up about it is, I think it's interesting how, like, think of, like, people that your friends, people like this. Like, if something like this took place, I mean, this is a matter of a few minutes that they've all kind of gone from, where is she, to, oh my gosh, Chris probably did something to her. The fact that the neighbor watched this and then was just immediately like, he's acting shady and trying to cover something up. I'm like, what else would have been going on? Because most people aren't going to jump to that conclusion. It's just, there's going to be something else going on, but everyone quickly kind of comes to this, like, what did Chris do? And so I'm just like, well, were there signs of this before? I mean, does he give off that energy that he's, like, capable of this stuff? I mean, I don't know. Y'all tell me what you think. And some of y'all, obviously, a lot of y'all, most of y'all, are way more well-versed in this, in this case than I am so far. So, I mean, those are kind of my initial thoughts about it. I just wanted to get on here and talk about that. Drop some comments. Let me know what you think. I know that this is a very, especially this particular video is very it's hard to watch. So, Anyways, let me know what you think. I appreciate everybody tuning in. Drop some comments. Thank you for the support. Thanks for talking. And we will visit next time on the next video. Bye, everybody.